Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that's the story of my life.
I know. I'm sure I got big, huge, them plastic storage bins of yarn. I'm never going to do anything with that crap, you know? Like I was telling Amy earlier. I mean, how many scarves can you make for Florida? So, it passes the time, though. Especially now, huh?
I just play video games and I'm always on fucking YouTube, so.
Well, I got video games, too. I mean, yeah. It's nothing but stuff to occupy downtime. People pouring in here.
Yeah, that's great to see, everybody. Great to see. Dash Fat Bastard coming in with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Dash Fat Bastard. Very much appreciated. Dash says, you have an articulated skull, Tina, in your head. No, tuna.
Yeah.
Tuna, he says.
That's funny. It's funny he says tuna because I had a friend that I went to high school with was my best friend. Her name was Lisa, and I used to call her Sleesa, so she'd call me Tuna.
The big tuna. Everybody.
Tuna. So not the first time I've been called Tuna. It's awful. Oh, shit.
Ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous. So the demiurge, everybody. The demiurge. Interesting topic. Demiurge is a concept, really, an entity. The Platonic, Neopythagorean, Middle Platonic, and Neoplatonic schools of philosophy consider the demiurge artisan-like figure responsible for fashioning and maintaining the physical universe. The Gnostics adopted the term demiurge. Although a fashioner, the demiurge is not necessarily the same as the creator figure in a monotheistic sense, because the demiurge itself and the material form from which the demiurge fashions the universe are both considered to be the consequence of something else. Depending on the system, they may be considered to be either uncreated and eternal, or the product of some other entity. The word demiurge is an English word derived from demiurgus, a Latinized form of the Greek word demiurgos. It was originally a common noun meaning craftsman or artisan, but gradually came to mean producer and eventually creator. The philosophical usage and the proper noun term derived from Plato's Timaeus, written in 360 BC, where the demiurge is presented as the creator of the universe. Demiurge is also described as the creator in the Platonic and Middle Platonic philosophical traditions. In the various branches of the Neoplatonic school, the 3rd century onwards, the demiurge is the fashioner of the real, perceptible world, after the model of the ideas, but in a Neoplatonic system, is still not itself the one. The arch-dualist ideology of various Gnostic systems, the material universe is evil while the non-material world is good. According to some strange of Gnosticism, the demiurge is malevolent and is linked to the material world. In other words, including the teachings of Valentinus, the demiurge is simply ignorant or misguided. So the demiurge essentially is the creator, the architect of the universe. But demiurge is created by accident when Sophia descends from her station in the heavens. And the physical universe is created by accident. And the demiurge is the architect of that physical universe. The demiurge alone in this physical universe believes itself to be the creator god, even though it's not.
Like, oops, I created a universe. Oops.
Right.
Okay.
In Gnosticism, we present a distinction between the highest unknowable God or supreme being and the demiurge, creator of the material. Several systems of Gnostic thought present the demiurge as antagonistic to the will of the supreme being. His act of creation occurs in an unconscious semblance of the divine model, and is thus fundamentally flawed, or else is formed with the malevolent intention of entrapping aspects of the divine in materiality. Thus, in such systems, the demiurge acts as a solution to, or at least possibly the problem or cause that gives rise to, the problem of evil. One Gnostic mythos describes the declination of aspects of the divine into human form. Sophia, wisdom, the demiurge's mother and partial aspect of the divine pleroma or fullness, designed to create something apart from the divine totality, without receipt of the divine assent. In this act of separate creation, she gave birth to the monstrous demiurge, and being ashamed for her deed, wrapped him in a cloud that created a throne for him within it. The demiurge, isolated, did not behold his mother nor anyone else, and concluded that only he existed, ignorant of the superior levels of reality. The demiurge, having received a portion of the power from his mother, set about the work of creation in unconscious imitation of the superior pleromaic realm. He framed the seven heavens, as well as all material and animal things, according to forms furnished by his mother, working, however, blindly and ignorant even of the existence of the mother, who is the source of all his energy. He is blind to all that is spiritual, but he is king over the two other providences. The word demiurgos properly describes his relation to the material. He is the father of that which is animal like himself. Thus, Sophia's power becomes enclosed within the material forms of humanity, themselves entrapped within the material universe. The goal of the Gnostic movement was typically the awakening of this spark, which permitted a return by the subject to the superior non-material realities which were its primal source. Psalm 82 begins with the verse, God stands in the assembly of El. In the midst of the gods, he renders judgment, indicating a plurality of gods, although it does not indicate that these gods were co-actors in creation. Philo had inferred from the expression, let us make man, in the book of Genesis, that God had used other beings as assistants in the creation of man, and he explains in this way why man is capable of vice as well as virtue, describing the origin of the latter to God, or the former to his helpers, in the work of creation. The earliest Gnostic sects ascribed the works of creation to angels, some of them using the same passage in Genesis. So Irenaeus tells of the system of Simon Magus, and the system of Menian, and the system of Saturnius, in which the numbers of these angels is reckoned as 7, and is the system of Carpocrates. In the report of the system of Basilides, we are told that our world was made by the angels who occupy the lowest heaven, but special mention is made of their chief, who is said to have been the God of the Jews, to have led the people out of the land of Egypt and have given them their law. The prophecies are ascribed not only to the chiefs, but to other world-making angels. The Latin translation, confirmed by Hippolytus of Rome, makes Irenaeus state that according to Centrilius, who shows the Ebonite influence, creation was made by a power quite separate from the supreme God and ignorant of him. Theodoret, who here copies Irenaeus, turned into the plural number powers, and so Irenaeus of Samelius represents Corinthenius as agreeing with Carpocrates in the doctrine that the world was made by angels. In the Orpheite and Sethian systems, which have many affinities with the teachings of Valentinus, the making of the world is ascribed to a company of 7 archons, whose names are given, but still more prominent is their chief, Yaldabaoth, also known as Yaldabaoth or Laldabaoth. In the Apocrypha of John, the demiurge arrogantly declares that he has made the world by himself. Now the archon, who is weak, has 3 names. His first is Yaldabaoth, his second is Shaklas, which means fool, and the third is Samael, and he is impious in his arrogance which is in him. For he said, I am God, and there is no other God besides me. For he is ignorant of his strength, the place from which he had come. He is the demiurge and maker of man. But as a ray of light from above enters the body of man and gives him a soul, Yaldabaoth is filled with envy. He tries to limit man's knowledge by forbidding him the fruit of knowledge in paradise. As the consummation of all things, a light will return to the pleroma. But Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, with the material world, will be cast into the lower depths. Yaldabaoth is frequently called the lion-faced and is said to have the body of a serpent. The demiurge is also described as having a fiery nature, applying the words of Moses to him. The Lord our God is a burning and consuming fire. Hippolytus claims that Simon used a similar description. In Pista Sophia, Yaldabaoth has already sunk from his high estate and resides in chaos, where, with his 49 demons, he tortures wicked souls in boiling rivers of pitch and with other punishments. He is the Archon with the face of a lion, half flame and half darkness. Under the name Nebro, rebel, Yaldabaoth is called an angel in the apocryphal Gospel of Judas. He is first mentioned in the Cosmos, Chaos, and the Underworld as one of the 12 angels to come into being to rule over the chaos of the underworld. He comes from heaven, and is said his face flashes with fire, and his appearance was deified with blood. Nebo creates 6 angels in addition to the angel Shotglass to be his assistant. These 6 in turn create another 12 angels, with each one receiving a portion of theirs in heaven. The most profitable derivation of the name Yaldabaoth was that given by Johann Karl Ludwig Geisler. Geisler believed the name was derived from the Aramaic Yalda Balhuth, meaning son of chaos. However, Gillis Quispel notes that Gershom Shalom, the third genius in this field, more specifically, genius of this precision, has taught us that some of us were wrong when they believed that Yaldabaoth means son of chaos, because the Aramaic word Bethula, in a sense of chaos, only existed in the imagination of the author of a well-known dictionary. This is a pity, because the name would suit the demiurge risen from chaos to a nicety. And perhaps the author of the Untitled Doctrine did not know Aramaic, and so suppose, as we did, that Beowath has something to do with Yaldabaoth, one of the few Hebrew words that everybody knows. It would seem that the Orphic view of the demiurge was integrated into Jewish Gnosticism before the redaction of the myth contained in the original Apocryphal of John. Phanes is represented with a mask of a lion's head on his breast, while from his sides, the head of a ram and buck are budding forth. His body is encircled by a snake. This type was accepted by the Mithraic mysteries, as indicated by Aeon. In the new year, Mithras, whose numerical value is 365, sometimes also identified with Jeo Adonai, the creator of the Hebrews. His heretic attitudes indicate Egyptian origin. The same is true of the monstrous figure with the head of a lion, which symbolizes time. Kronos, in Mithraism, Alexandrian origin of this type is probable. Samael literally means blind god, or god of the blind in Hebrew. This being is considered not only blind or ignorant of its own origins, but may, in addition, be evil. For it is also found in Judaism as the angel of death, and in Christian demonology. This link to Judeo-Christian tradition leads to a further comparison with Satan. Another alternative title for the demiurge is Saklas, Aramaic for fool. The angelic name Ariel, meaning lion of God in Hebrew, has also been used to refer to the demiurge and is called his perfect name. In some Gnostic lore, Ariel has been called an ancient or original name for Yaldabaoth. The name has also been inscribed on amulets as Ariel Yaldabaoth, and the figure of the Archon is inscribed with the Ariel. According to Marcion, the title God was given to the demiurge, who was to be sharply distinguished from the higher good God. The former was Diakios, severely just, the latter Athagaios, or lovingly kind. The former was the God of this world, 2 Corinthians 4:4, the God of the Old Testament. The latter, the true God of the New Testament. Christ, in reality, is the Son of the good God. The true believer in Christ enters into God's kingdom. The unbeliever remains forever the slave of the demiurge. It is in the system of Valentinus that the name Demiurgos is used, which occurs nowhere in Arrhenius except in connection with the Valentinian system. We may reasonably conclude that it is Valentinius who adopted from Platonism the use of this word. When it is employed by other Gnostics, either it is not used in a technical sense, or it has been barred by Valentinus. But it is the only name that can be said to be specifically Valentinian, a personage intended by its correspondence more or less closely with the Yaldabaoth and the Ophirites, the great Archon, and the Basilides, the Elohim of Justinianus, etc. The opinions on the devil and his relationship to the demiurge vary. The Ophirites held that he and his demons constantly opposed and thwarted the human race. It was their account of the devil was cast down into the world. According to one variant of the Valentinian system, the demiurge is also the maker, out of his appropriate substance, out of an order of spiritual beings, the devil, the prince of this world, and his angels. But the devil, as a being, a spirit of wickedness, is able to recognize the higher spiritual world, of which his maker is the demiurge, who is only animal and has no real knowledge. The devil resides in this lower world of which he is the prince, the demiurge in the heavens, his mother Sophia in the middle region, above the heavens and below the pleroma. The Valentinian Heracleon interpreted the devil as the principle of evil, that ol hayim, matter, as he writes in his commentary on John 4:21. The mountain represents the devil, or his world, since the devil was part of the whole of matter. But the world is the total mountain of evil, a deserted dwelling place of beasts to which all who live before the law and all Gentiles render worship. But Jerusalem represents the creation or the creator whom the Jews worship. You then, who are the spiritual, should worship neither the creation nor the craftsman, but the Father of truth. The vilification of the creator was held to be inimical to Christianity by the early fathers of the church. In refuting the beliefs of the Gnostics, Irenaeus stated that Plato is proved to be more religious than these men, for he allowed that the same God was both just and good, having power over all things, and himself executing judgments. The Catharism apparently inherited the ideas that Satan is the creator of the evil world from Gnosticism. There is a direct link between ancient Gnosticism and Catharism. The Cathars held that the creator of the world, Satanel, had usurped the name of God, but that he had subsequently been unmasked and told that he was not the real God. So where is that all touching to some weird stuff? Because it's not weird enough yet.
Let's go weirder then.
It can get weirder. It can definitely get weirder. So you want to get a little weirder. This is an article I found from way back in 2013.
Wow.
Taken from Not in an Image by John Lash from the Exohuman website, titled Say Hello to Yaldabaoth, Lord of the Archons. The great unmentionable evil at the center of our culture is monotheism. From our barbaric Bronze Age text known as the Old Testament, three anti-human religions have evolved: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These are sky god religions. They are literally patriarchal. God is the omnipotent Father, hence the loathing of women for 2,000 years in those countries afflicted by the sky god and his earthly male delegates. The sky god is a jealous god, of course. He requires total obedience from everyone on earth, as he is not just in place for one tribe, but for all creation. Those who reject him must be converted or killed for the purpose, for their own good. Ultimately, totalitarianism is the only sort of politics that can truly serve the sky god's purpose. Any movement of a liberal nature endangers his authority and those of his delegates on earth. One god, one king, one pope, one master in the factory, one faith leader in the family at home. It's a quote from Gore Vidal. Now, long before Christianity, monotheism was an anomaly. Europe and Near East flourished under the divine guidance of Sophia, the ancient goddess of wisdom. The earth was venerated as the embodiment of Sophia, and thus sacred to the people who sought divine fulfillment in her presence. The ancient, harmonious, nature-based philosophy was threatening to emerging salvationist, sacrificial creed of Christianity, which was based on patriarchal domination over the earth and demanded personal suffering as a path to the afterlife. The old ways could not be tolerated by this alien intruder. So during the early centuries of the first millennium, Christian hordes obliterated every trace of the ancient spiritual traditions, casting Europe into the Dark Ages. Hypatia, who was a Neoplaton philosopher, astronomer, and mathematician, who was murdered by a Christian mob in 415 AD, and this marked the end of the classical era and the beginning of a moral and spiritual decline under the tyranny of Christianity. In the Gnostic Gospels of Nag Hammadi, written in the 1st century, the writer warns us about the God of the Bible, known as the Demiurge or Yaldabaoth. He is described as an insane, demented, impostor deity who works against the will. He is a self-deified, inorganic phantom deluded about his own identity. The word demiurge literally means half-working or half-powered. So called because he can originate nothing, or must imitate what already exists. The leader of this extraterrestrial Archon race, he is also Saklas, which means fool, Samiel, blind, and Yaldabaoth to the Gnostics. This is the biblical father god of the Old Testament, Yahweh or Jehovah, the god still worshipped by millions of Jews, Christians, and Muslims today. Yaldabaoth is a demented pretender god who claims to be the creator of the material world and demands slavish obedience from his human subjects, while he works to undermine the evolution and destiny of humanity. According to the Gnostic writings, Yaldabaoth himself chose a certain man named Abraham and made a covenant with him. And so began the devastating salvationist, misogynistic religions of monotheism that have so devastated our world. Archons are predatory cyborgs, lacking creativity, but can imitate with a vengeance. Their expertise is in simulation, HAL, virtual reality, and the demiurge fashioned a heaven world, copied from the Sophic original but completely fake. The Archontic heaven is this afterworld for countless humans who are duped by the simulation, presented by messianic, salvationist religion, Christianity. They, the Archons, sought to overpower humanity in its psychological and perceptual functions. For indeed their delight is bitter and their beauty is depraved, and their triumph is in deception, leading astray for their own structure is without divinity. The Apocrypha of John from the Nag Hammadi Codices. This fake salvation by superhuman powers, rather than through the divine potential innate to humanity and aligned with the planetary goodness Sophia, which is the hallmark of extraterrestrial religion, is the root cause of most problems that currently beset humanity. Were ancient Bronze Age civilizations taken over by sophisticated, parasitic, extra-dimensional entities who manipulated the human mind to this day for their own evil purposes? That's what these arguments are.
Sound like nice people to me.
Yes, and like I said, this was the work of John Lash, who apparently has a serious problem with monotheistic religion.
Apparently.
He really has a big problem with monotheistic religion. But he also insinuates that these were space aliens that are considered to be angels, but are really trapping people. Simulation, afterlife. I guess some will recycle back here to the planet.
Being in hell, but different.
Scan detected.
Yep.
Landing gear deployed.
What you looking at?
I'm just looking at some.
Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
You know, another name for God is the Ancient of Days, first seen in the book of Daniel. And the original Aramaic as Atik Yomin, or in the Greek, in the Septuagint. William Blake's Ancient Days is a perfectly symbolic image of the demiurge, with his compass measuring space and time. Let me see if I can get an image of William Blake's Ancient of Days here. like to share this with you. I think in some cases it's good to share visuals here. So let me just pull that up.
Okie doke.
Let me see here.
I always like having images.
I think
Don't
this
ask me.
it really it's really necessary to illustrate a point.
Sure.
So here's an image of Ancient of Days by William Blake that some would argue perfectly demonstrates the look of the Demiurge as he uses his compass to measure creation.
That'd make a cool shirt too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would make a pretty cool shirt.
I
He
like
did
it.
another one of Nebuchadnezzar, all like
Huh?
crazy and in the fields eating grass and stuff.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd make a cool little picture for the wall.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to find the right size. I have to find the right size.
Yeah.
So, and they talk about these things, Demiurge,
Engines engaged.
is the Demiurge part of this chain that comes up through Seth and then bloodline of Noah. And then it goes into ancient Egypt.
Shift drive charging. Ready to engage.
Like the pre-flood world of Lamech, Tubal King.
2, 1, engage.
I think it's destroyed.
It's
I
pretty
know.
much everything get destroyed at some point, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Mace, I thought the Demiurge was insane. The Demiurge could very well be insane. One of his names is Fool. It's Sekla. Seklet. Or whatever it was. So yeah, it could be insane. Believes that it's the only God. Even though it's not God. Is unaware of the existence of God. J. Carr points out the Fool and the Tarot and the Hanged Man.
Oh yeah.
True TNT says, great show, Pete. Well, thank you, True TNT. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. He says demonic, maybe. Yeah, it could be demonic. I think that there is a demonic aspect to this idea of the Demiurge.
Definitely.
And that's why it was conflated with Satan and the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And the Orphites held that belief that these demons constantly opposed and thwarted the human race. So the Demiurge, in the order of spiritual beings, was the devil and the prince of the world and his angels. But the devil's a separate being, a spirit of wickedness, that was able to recognize the higher spiritual world, of which his maker is the Demiurge. But the Demiurge is an animal, has no real knowledge. The devil resides in the lower world, of which he is the prince. The Demiurge in the heavens, his mother Sophia in the middle regions, in the heavens below the Pleroma. And the Pleroma is like the totality of God. It encompasses like everything.
Everything.
Yeah, the
I keep having to mute because I keep getting up for like snacks and shit.
Snacks are good.
I know.
you need some snacks after a long day. My wife went to the store today, came back with a bunch of snacks.
Snacks are good.
Snacks are bad because then I eat them.
Yeah, they're still good.
Yeah, the Demiurge. You know, that's it's tied in some ways to the bloodlines of the Watchers.
Okay.
You know, and the reality of the Archons, like the hypostasis of the Archons, the reality of the rulers. Cosmological treatises presenting the Gnostic versions of Genesis. Core, the Sophia mythos, the generations to the Archons, the rape of Eve, the madness of Yaldabaoth, the conversion of the sun, and other mythological features. After the exhausting exercise of storing through the Gospel of Philip to tease out prevailing themes, the reality of the Archons presented us with more or less straightforward discourse on Gnostic creation myths. This is the first text on cosmology being encountered so far in the reading community. There are only 5 such texts in the entire corpus, Hype Arc being the briefest, most accessible of the 5. Hence, it is a good place to dive into the cosmological material. It directly follows Ghost Feel in Codex 2, and it is followed by On the Origin of the World. Another cosmological treatise, a rare instance in the NEC, where comparable texts are bound together. Introducing a translation by Bentley Layton, Roger A. Ballard writes, Hypostasis of the Archons is certainly a work of Gnostic teacher instructing an audience. The audience is a Christian Gnostic community, aware of material of both testaments and accepting the authority of Paul. This is the typical of the assumptions scholars allow themselves when they regard Gnostic material and outtakes of early Christian writings. It is true that the opening paragraph uses language found in Pauline letters, Colossians and Ephesians. But who is to say that Paul himself did not originally derive that language from the Gnostic circles? In any case, the language was in circulation, and the manner of citing Paul, the great apostle, says more about the audience address than about the teachings addressed to them. I have sent you this because you inquire about the reality of the authorities. The Greek exousia could suggest the Gnostic master had been asked to clarify or correct what Paul believed to be said. Hype Arc begins in medias res. It jumps immediately into decisive events in the Gnostic creation myth. The imposter god who is blind declares that he is the only god in the universe, but he is refuted by a divine voice that tells him he is mistaken. Here the text offers a burst. His thoughts became blind. That humans can think in a blind manner, ignorant of the nature of their thoughts, and oblivious to the self-destroying effects of their thought process, as the standard teachings in Buddhism and Noetic science, Gnostics, associated with the environmental effects of cosmic egotism. They taught the processes in the human psyche are enmeshed with events in the cosmos at large. Our minds are preoccupied with the folly and arrogance of the chief. Hype Arc, the authorities or rulers are initially called the Exousians. Term found in the writings to Hype. With the name Archeon occurs later in the text. The chief of the Exousians, not called by his usual name, Yaldabaoth. In mystery teachings on the planetary spheres, the Exousia are connected with Jupiter and the force of envy. Hype Arcs does not explain, as do other cosmological treatises, how the chief ruler was produced from the abyss, where he is called his mother. The word noun indicates the chief authority of his legion arrives from the realm of elemental matter, as the abyss. This is what we call quantum fields, the presumed inorganic matrix of organic life. Sophia, dear called the Pista Sophia, quantum wisdom, established a heavenly world for the authorities. Conformity with their power, forming that world after the pattern of the worlds that are above, by starting from an invisible world, the visible world was invented. The worlds above are the pleroma, source of all archetypal patterns of manifestation. The Archons cannot invent anything. Everything has to be done by Sophia, an aeon from the pleroma. Other texts say that the chief ruler does not create his own heaven world, the planetary system, by imitating the patterns of the pleroma. But if he is blind, how can he see those divine forms? This passage assumes that Sophia tricked the imposter god Yaldabaoth into thinking he is doing what she, the genuine divinity, does for him. Now a sublime event. The figure of incorruptibility is reflected in the realm of chaos where the Exousia emerged, and the compound form of the Coptic incorruptibility is constructed from taco, to corrupt, perish, with the prefix at, meaning not, and mint, which functions like the English suffix shun, hence mint, teco, ability not to corrupt. The A in teco changes to an E, one of the many baffling orthographic irregularities in the Coptic. It is also called imperishability. This, to us, abstraction is preserved as a living, witnessing awareness, even though it is not given a divine or angelic name such as Eliath. Strangely, this abstract presence, presumed to be in the pleroma, produces an imagery in elementary matter, moody waters. And the Exousia desire it, but are unable to attain it. We are told they can desire it because they have a soul but not spirit. This is the closest the NHC comes to asserting that the Archons have souls, an inner life of something. They can long for and pine for something. They then fall into envy for what they cannot have. Apparently, the image of imperishability resembling the human form which the rulers, now called the Archon Torah, attempt to copy. The Archons laid plans and said, "Come, let us create a human that will be from the soil of the earth." It's not unclear if they modeled on a human form, perhaps a blossom, because the Coptic word "learn" for human is used interchangeably for page 87, 30 says that the model in the human form after the image of God or divine inspiration immediately the mirror image is female, because the Archons now determined to see its male counterpart. The first mold of a female form or matrix, and then produced from it a male from which they infuse with their breath. But the male form is unable to stand upright. This incident recalls indigenous creation myths that described a botched attempt to perform or produce the human form. For instance, the pop-out. The Archons blow furiously and are unable to animate their pseudo-human creation, for they did not know the identity of its power. Now comes a remarkable passage. The spirit of the pleroma, observing that the soul-endowed human form is unable to attain its true stature, sends a part of itself from adamantine limb into the struggling creature, and man became a living soul. That's from Psyche Etone. The term Etone also appears in the mystery name, the living Jesus. By living, Gnostics meant something like everlasting rather than merely alive. This recalls the distinction between Zoe, the immortal life force, and Bios, the form of biological life, educated by mythologist Carl Karenyi, Dionysius. Adamantine ring, or the adamantine ring, is a striking term that recalls Buddhist teachings on the adamantine or diamond Varjas awareness. Such awareness resides in the pleroma, but because Sophia is united with the earth, the divine presence of the pleroma pervades the earth. With support from the aeons Sophia, Adamos, earth creatures, now rise upright and demonstrate spiritual power by naming the animals. The male and female types of humanity grown live in an Edenic world, a natural paradise, the biosphere. Sophia indwells the entire biosphere, but she is also present in it through the specific medium of the adamantine or living white radiance, the organic light. The myth of Hyparch, thus, explains the basis of the central experience of the initiation in the mysteries, instructions by the light. In the Gnostic versions of Genesis, the rulers, the Archons, The Archons, these underlings of the alphabet, the demiurge. They forbid the primal parents to eat the tree that would allow them to discern good and evil. They impose the threat of death. The story carries an extraordinary experience. We are now told that the Archons are allowed to make a prediction. The primal parents will disappear. Intervention. So the primal parents will disappear, even for them. Consequently, acquire powers of items. Enlightenment comes from humans. And so, Adamus might not regard them in the Archons, and when a creature of limits, dense and serious. So the Archons realize that the taboo knowledge gave Adam the power to detect them for what they truly are, and tried to plunge him into a stupor, blocking his higher perceptions. To do so, they performed a grotesque operation. They opened his side, pulled off his side and flesh in place of heart. So that he is reduced from a being of a spirit creature to a more modest status of soul creature. Clearly, Adam is facing a bad management. Note that in the Gnostic Eden scenario, it is not merely a reversal of the biblical scenario, presenting a false creator God who becomes an instrument. In the Gnostic version, Adam and Eve do not sin in human terms. They do not merely disobey the commands of the creator God, but they access powers of cognition that expose the creator God. In short, they exhibit spiritual superiority over the Archons, and it is for this they are punished by the Archons, intent to plunge them into a stupor. The spell they put on Adam does not diminish his ordinary awareness. It blocks his capacity for heightened awareness. If this interpretation is correct, it shows the Gnostics were aware of the archontic powers, and that human representatives harbor the intention to deprive humanity of the experience of the heightened awareness, that is, cognitive ecstasy typical of shamanistic practices with entheogenic plants. In fact, the program of patriarchy right down to our day has always opposed experimental contact and communion with sacred natures in altered states. The original forbidden fruit may well have been an entheogenic plant, such as a sacred mushroom, Amanita muscaria. All this proceeds in Eden, the terrestrial paradise of earth, but rather differently than the story goes in the Old Testament, and there is a more Gnostic rewriting of Judeo-Christian creation. Eve is not affected by the deep sleep imposed on Adam. She calls out to him out of his stupor. Seeing her, he recognizes that she is the mother of the women, the Timemento, as well as the physician next to her. The Archons are deeply upset because Eve had defeated their plans to stupefy Adam, so they turn their attention to her. Here's the reality of the Archons presented as a version of the alien interbreeding myth from the Sumerian cuneiform tablets. The Archons became attracted to Eve, the primal woman, and they said to her, "Come, let us sow our seed in her." And they pursued her. And she laughed at them, littleness, and blindness. Within reach of her clutches, and she turned into a tree and left before them a shadowy reflection of herself. Contrary to the widely held view that the cuneiform stones prove there was alien intervention in human genetics in prehistory, this Gnostic text, and this is not the only one, denies that the Archons successfully of their intention to proceed with Eve. They did, however, lay claim to an image of them, and they defiled and found them. The text oddly specifies they defiled the stamp of her voice. What can this mean? In cosmological terms, it's difficult to say what the Archons are doing here, but in psychological terms, which, let's recall, always run in parallel with cosmic events in the Gnostic version of human reality, it suggests that womanhood becomes defiled, defamed, and denigrated. This is exactly what happened with the rise of patriarchal religions. The distinctive voice of woman, her authority to speak for herself and for the goddess, has been defamed and defiled. Both themes, the defilement of women and the forbidding of entheogenic rites, are central to the dominator agenda of the patriarchy. Kenneth Rexroth, who traced the origins of Gnosticism back to the Neolithic or even earlier, stated the devotion to the Redeemer goddess in the Mysteries accounts for the strong and distinctive anti-patriarchal emphasis of most Gnostic texts. The primer on Gnosticism in GRS Mead, Fragments of Faith Forgotten. As the scholar J.D. Turner notes, Gnostics realized the true source of construction of patriarchal structures to lie in the demiurge, the false creator. This is certainly evident in the mythological revisions of the reality of the Archons. This would be consistent with the designs of the Archons to make women inferior to men who were duped and stupefied. Gnostics taught that the pseudo-gods do indeed attempt this, but fail because woman becomes the instructor of man. The instructor assumes the form of a snake. The text plays on the Adamic pun between the snake and the instructor. The female instructing principle is Kundalini, the serpent power. This power is an internal facility of blissful innate knowledge or cognitive ecstasy. The rulers acted from jealousy when they forbade access to the tree of knowledge, precisely because the fruit of that tree releases the serpent power. The myth suggests that originally this power belonged to snakes, or was carried by reptiles. It was taken from them and transferred to humanity. The carnal woman, the Tishme Sarka, also called the Saric Eve, is biologically bound woman, contrasted to the spiritual or pneumatic, who is the instructor of the human race. In Gnostic myth, Eve, the spiritual or pneumatic woman, is not the tempter of Adam, but his liberator. She is distinguished from the carnal woman, a creature bound to her biological nature rather than master of it. Upon leaving the carnal biologically bound woman, the spiritual woman enters the serpent and instructs the man and woman to eat from the tree of recognizing good and evil against the ruler's command. This act of spiritual instruction is simultaneously an act of insubordination. Upon questioning Adam, the rulers learned from him, the ruler gave to him from the tree, and they cursed him. The Sark Eve and her male counterpart are soul creatures who lack the higher insight of psychosemantic. Due to their lack of acquaintance, they feel shame. Being naked is a spiritual element. They do not forget what they have seen in the Moses. Acquaintance with the divine matters. Although Adam's over Archons and Eve are worthy of influence, then they turn the curse to snake, realizing the curse upon the snake is the response to the serpent instructor Kundalini, by which humans can resist and repel evil intrusion, heal traumas caused by confession. Kundalini is the snake medicine. Kitefarm describes the expulsion from Eden to the Archons, whose chief is Yalta, identified with Jehovah. This is consistent with the Old Testament narrative. The Old Testament Yahweh Jehovah regarded as a stern creator who justly punishes humanity for disobedience. The hero of the creator God is a connected he relegates against the flesh exercising the gnostic powers of higher perception. Jehovah's attitude is not high. In no way be constructed as chastisement that leads to human betterment. The rulers threw humanity into great distraction, to a life of toil, so that humans might be occupied by mundane affairs, opportunity to be devoted to the spiritual life. The narrative continues with straightforward telling of the King and Abel story, and as a unique Seth and Noah before the Seth is the heaven of the universe. Noah is the type of spiritual the father mother became pregnant when she was Noah. When she said the spirit could come out from the virgin as a help for many generations of humanity. Understood in its original pagan sense, a virgin is not a woman who has no sexual experience, but a woman who is not born child due to sexual intercourse and thus retains an untapped virginal power. Seeking revenge, the Archons conspire to bring on the flood to destroy the human race, but the rulers of the forces, the warns the mystery code, the Dynamis are the planetary spirits of Mars, being planetary extraterrestrial entities. They would be classified among the Archons, but here, curiously, they're seemingly allies to humanity. Nora, the wife of Noah, recognizes that the Dynamis are rulers of the darkness, and she reminds them they were unable to defile Eve, although they were able to stupefy her male counterpart Adam. She exposes them and asserts her connection with the higher powers of the Pleroma. The confrontation now turns violent. The Archons, here called the Lords of Unrighteousness, try to attack Noria. In response to Noria's plight, the great angel Eliath, who is called Sagasin, sends to aid the Christian. The great angel answers, I have been sent to speak with you and save you from being captured by the lawless one, and I shall teach you about your origins. Passage 93, Hype Arc shifts into something like a Revelation discourse. Almost certainly a second and independent text has been sliced in the cosmological dissertation we've been following thus far. The other text continues to the end of the document. Passage 97, the angel makes a dissertation, commenting on the teachings and the universe. And the superior to the water. And think these rules to be powerful. None of them can prevail against the root of the truth, the copper of the meaning, and also part of the truth. Well, on its account, where we were appeared in the final ages, cannot defile you from the generation of odds of the weak. You dwell in incorruption, immortal and virgin strength, superior to the rulers and the chaos of the world. Gloria, whoever is the interlocutor. There's revelation and dialogue, asking about the origin, nature, and power of the Archons. Eliath replies with a version of the Sophia mythos, the fallen goddess scenario. Hype Arc picks up on the initial scene of the text with further elaboration. Rapid language, piling into language, the Reveler describes how the Aeon Sophia, rejecting herself without consent from the throne, reduced them all to the ground captives, something like the face, which refers to the future of I take the statement from the matter of trajectory disruption, moving species or something. The thing is a sense of side asking for the He said this, he sinned against the intent. He is Jehovah. Father God of the Old Testament. Command me to shout. Command is insane. It comes from insane. The exact Buddhist parallel of source. Human insanity, human love, the concept of a fixed, abiding remember. The myth continues, is told in staccato. An arrogant creature declares itself to be the god of the cosmos, but is reproached by a fierce calling, Samuel, the god of the earth. This is a reference to the blind patriarch Samuel of the Old Testament. Samuel introduced the institution of divine kinship to Israelites, even though this notion was alien to the traditional belief. Gnostics were keen political dissenters who saw in Jewish theocracy the ruse of the Archons, which the Archon tie, who are cosmic or extraterrestrial aliens, are closely associated with ruling claims who dominate the social order, using the theocratic pretense of divine. The text now rapidly concludes with a series of spectacular myths. Anna Sophia changes the inorganic realm of the Archons with animating power, and their ruler who proceeds to instruct an archonic heaven consisting of 7 rulers, the Hebdoma. This is the planetary system exclusive of Sun, Moon, and Earth. The chief rulers again confronted, this time by Zoe, another daughter or aspect of Sophia, who call him Sakwas, Aramaic for Zoe breathes a super surge of her force, divine life force, into the ruler's face and casts him into tolerance and noble bliss. The event is witnessed by the sun. Sabbath undergoes a conversion. Although the sun is produced in order shaped by archonic forces and father, the celestial body acts as a conscious cosmic entity, now decides to forsake the Archons and unite with Sophia. This conversion of Sabbath is one of the grand events of the Sophia mythos. Elsewhere, I have suggested that the symbiosis of Earth and Sun recognized in the Gaia hypothesis may be reflected here in the ancient mythio. Force. Breitbart says that Sophia and Zoe set Suboth free and gave him charge of the seven heavens, below the veil, above the below. He is set above the forces of chaos, i.e. the planetary realm of celestial mechanics. On his right is Zoe, on his left the Angel of Wrath. This arrangement indicates that the solar force is symbiotic with life, but also capable of annihilating by wrath, excessive force as seen as solar eruptions. In the repentant sun who serve her, Gaia, the earthbound Sophia, reserve a lethal power. Aleath says enigmatically that Yaldabaoth envied the sun, Sabaoth, and the envy became an androgynous product and engendered death, and death engendered its own offspring. Thus, illusion requires an interpretation that would unduly prolong this commentary. We will return to this element of death in later cosmological treatises. Finally, Noria is asked if she is of the same matter as the Archons. Aleath answers clearly that her origin is in the imperishable light of the Pleroma, but the Archons were generated outside the Pleroma and do not possess the spirit of truth. Those who know the difference exist deathlessly in the midst of mortal humankind. The great angel concludes with a prophecy and a promise, asserting the triumph of humanity over error and deceitful power of the Archons. This sown element is the radiant template of humanity that will emanate from the Pleroma and seeded on the earth via panspermia. The true identity of the human species is cosmic, divine, and preterrestrial. Those who know themselves in perspective of this identity are children of the light. So, are you children of the light here? The Archons are coming for you. They want to get your soul. They want to eat
Not
it.
just anything that wants my soul.
Yeah, don't trust that stuff.
That damn Eve and the children of the light, huh?
You want to be children of the light around here. Joseph ordered for $1.99. Thank you, Joseph. Much appreciated. Joseph ordered says poop.
He snuck in on me.
Sneaking in some poop there.
Hey, Joseph, sneaking in.
Thank you, Joseph. Good to see you.
Crazy stuff. Sort of liking it, though. Looks like women are sort of running the show there for a while, huh?
Mm.
That ain't so bad.
No, that's it. It's True TNT. The chat wants to know what you are reading. Well, I'm reading The Reality of the Archons by John Lash, 2010, the Meta History website. I'm also looking at this site called the Victorian Trading Company.
Pete.
Just distracted by it. There's a sale. It's free shipping on $69 or more.
Good news.
Yeah.
Good news, everybody.
There's some very nice Halloween decorations.
Speaking of sales, too, we've got some pretty, or you've got some pretty cool stuff at the Teespring store.
That I do. Some new stuff in there. There's a link down to the Teespring store in the description of this video. So if you're interested, check that stuff out. I was just commenting to my wife today how these new designs seem to be selling very well.
I got my tank top in, too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely doing well with these new designs. So I hope you guys will check them out.
Good, good.
They're not going to stick around forever. I'm going to be pulling stuff down as I put new stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did that recently. I pulled down some stuff.
Keeping it fresh.
You got to freshen it up. You got to keep it fresh. Just voted for $1.99. The jank is real. Okay.
Joseph always stumps us.
All right, well, thank you, Joseph. I thought that said the jerk at first.
Maybe it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes YouTube doesn't let you read what it's saying, huh? You gotta like substitute words.
Yep. YouTube always sticking their nose in your business.
Oh, you want the name of what I'm reading again? That would be The Reality of the Archons by John Lash, 2010, from the Meta History website. Reality of the Archons. You gotta watch out for those Archons. Archons are all part and parcel, hand in hand with the Autobot, the Demiurge.
Yeah, this is all new to me tonight, this subject or topic.
Joseph Alder for $1.99. Thank you, Joseph Alder. Playboy and the Infinite Titties. Infinite, non-stop.
That's right. They're
Like
everywhere.
you're running in a
everywhere.
gauntlet of them.
Of them, yeah, just bouncing off of them everywhere.
Seems like that was a Monty Python skit.
Yeah, exactly. Good call, Becca. I can see
I think
that.
it was a Monty Python.
Right? I can see that 100%. That's funny.
Scan detected.
I think everything's a Monty Python skit.
I was trying
That's
to
what
wonder-
life has become now.
Right? What's the guy's name again? Pete? John?
Lash.
Lash?
Yeah.
What is it? Amazon. Do you think Amazon would have it?
Do not know. I'm not up to Amazon's book catalog lately.
Really? I'm
Not
surprised
of
you just
them.
don't scan over it and just can regurgitate everything. Every book ever listed on Amazon.
Every book man. That was like they call me. I'll be on Good Morning America. They'll be like, "What's every book, dude?" And I'll just start, and I'll be fucking just running my mouth the whole time.
Yeah, you know,
They'll be like, "Look at this asshole. He knows every book."
that's right. You're like the real Rain Man of books.
I'll do it all to the tune of "We Didn't Start the Fire" by Billy Joel.
Yeah, okay. I can see it. Yeah, yeah.
Verse after verse after verse. Just name it.
Wes, full-time job. Yeah, I'm not seeing it on Amazon. Nope, you'll just have to come back and listen to the stream again. You don't need to read it. How about that? Pete just read it for you.
Yeah, John Lash does sound like he has some issues with patriarchy. Sounds like, but I mean, but his issues seem to be like along the lines of the religious patriarchy, which is more than not limited to a societal patriarchy. Shook out, I guess.
You know, Malcolm's saying, I know this channel is about demonic stuff, but what about hidden history? I mean, watch Mystery History 2 channel on YouTube. And he talks about everything, though. It's not only about demonic stuff. We talk about religion and hidden history. A lot of hidden history. In fact, in his catalog of videos, there's just plethora of stuff, right, Pete?
Oh yeah,
Playlist and
overall.
if that's not enough, you can go to BitChute and you can actually listen to the live streams too. Because for the most part, the channel is his pre-recorded shorter videos. Jason said it's only P3.
Target shields offline.
I mean, the stream's up there. I think it's good shape. But I can imagine just about anything you can think of, Malcolm, he's gonna have it.
Target cargo drone.
All right, Jason Walker for dominating, man. I can't. Why? Why? Why we gotta turn it up to 11, Jason?
Is that just...
Target
Not cool,
destroyed.
man. Not
He
cool.
ain't right. He ain't right.
Scan detected.
Oh, yeah, welcome in. Yeah, our history is a lie for the most part.
Cargo scope deployed.
Oh yeah, we gotten all into, I mean, the Smithsonian and how their involvement with the cover-up of our history being a total lie.
Scan detected.
You know, we've talked extensively on, just the other night, we were talking about Kumaran Can Dam, you know, Lemuria, Atlantis, the destruction of these continents, and their relation to the Hollow Earth, of course. You know, we talked about Admiral Byrd, Operation Hijack, much of history post-war was kind of fuzzy.
Check out the playlist, Malcolm. Check out his videos. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
John Kiss says, I love the two songs. Well, there you go.
Thank you, John. You're a sweetheart.
Milkman cometh. Anyone ever heard of the Terra Papers? I feel like it's in the same vein. No, I'm not familiar with the Terra Papers. Let me make a note of that. I definitely want to look into it. It relates to what we're talking about tonight. I do like to find topics as they relate to one another and schedule the shows around each other. So we kind of build off of these kind of topics. So that's something we're talking about. Definitely want to look into that.
Yep, always looking for ideas.
Joseph Alder for $1.99. Thank you, Joseph Alder. Joseph Alder is cheap fudgers and mix.
God knows.
Okay. Christopher Dockery. It all leads to Antarctica. It always does, Christopher. It all leads to Antarctica. That's where the frozen Nephilim are.
Yep.
That's where the frozen Nephilim are doing in Antarctica.
Entrance to the Hollow Earth and everything's in Antarctica. My favorite subject.
That's where it all goes down.
Mm-hmm. I believe so. You can visit there, but you can only go
Target
a few
destroyed.
places. Not many.
It's because it's so freaking cold, and how would you get there?
True. Probably a lack of, yeah.
You could get everywhere on a snowmobile.
Yeah. Even then, though, I mean, how far could you get, you know?
Mm-hmm. Not super far, I mean.
Mm-mm.
And then there's nothing to do there anyway, other than...
No. Just freeze your ass off.
Yeah. Like, there's some things like, yeah, they're kind of
Right? There was a heater involved.
cool. Now just, there you go. Everybody go and, start using all your sprays and your aerosols. And...
Just vote for $1.99. Polo cock. I am. Polo cock. I am.
Joseph, do you play golf?
I bet he's a golf player. What?
A random friend.
I bet you got crystal fucking ball? What are you doing?
I mean, I have a crystal ball and I don't even see that shit.
I bet he's a fucking golfer. I see fucking.
I bet he
see
eats
fucking
Doritos, too.
gold in your fucking future.
Messing with it. No. He says no.
Oh god. Now Fed's back. What are you doing? What's going on? Switching the games faster than fucking Prince. To the top of the level. Here's all the $1.99. I like ball washers. They fun.
That game sucks. It wastes a lot of land too. Land that you can't even step on without getting bitched at. You make
The
a
sport for people who are out of shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got buddies who got really into golf for a while, and I'm just like,
No, you gotta get up at God 30 for tea time. Screw that.
it's like everything we want to do, I mean, like, is like, you gotta get up so early. It's like, let's go fishing. Let's get up at 6 fucking a.m. and go fishing. Like, yeah.
I'll stay up all night to go fishing. I don't want to get up in the morning.
Yeah, it's like, I can't do that.
I don't like to do it either, no. Not a morning person.
Great music, $2. I had a ball washer with $50 bird dog. Oh, come on. Just all the bird dog. I hate myself without a golf. Thank you, Jimbo. Thank you, Jimbo. I hate myself without it. Yeah, like I said, yeah, whether it's softball or golf, fishing, it's all six being. I'd like to have it's just so early.
I don't think I played foosball and darts.
It's really early in the morning. I still like if I had to go to work at 6, I would go in it, or I would wake up at like 3.
Really?
I need some fucking time.
Oh yeah, just to wake up. I agree, Mecca. I
I'm
need to
gonna
have my
have
coffee
You
and
know, have something to eat. I want to have a shower.
yeah,
You know what?
brush. So by the time you get to work, you're like exasperated, getting ready to get to work.
Scan detected. Target shields.
I don't like feeling irresponsible.
Target
I hate
shields.
having to rely on people. You know, like to open the door to like a job or you know shit. Oh. And I don't have to deal with like other managers who just like, seriously, can you just shut up?
You know?
Shut
Hello?
up.
That's all part of the day. It's all part of the day. At some point, everybody hates other people. It's just part of it. Like that, yeah. But you gotta drive anywhere, I'll find
Scan detected.
I've gotten in fights with people on the interstate. You want to talk about ridiculous? Window roll down, screaming at the driver next to you like they can hear you. That's right.
it. Offensive drive.
I am. I am. 47 feeding tickets for nothing.
I'm an offensive driver. Look out. Everybody fuck off on the road. It's me. Here I come. Good luck, everybody behind me.
That's me. That's me.
Left foot. Get the fuck
Right,
out
I
of my
gotta
way.
hurry up. That's right. I gotta hurry up and get to where I'm getting because I don't want to pass out on the way there. That's funny.
Target destroyed. Scan detected.
The local says I want machine guns in my car for LA traffic, but no, society says I can't have them.
I
So,
know. Sons
know
of
what
bitches.
Batman listened to society when he put machine guns on his Batmobile in 1989? No.
Yeah, I want a tank that'll do like 75 miles an hour. That would be awesome.
Speed tank.
That's right. They'll be getting rid of that. If they did.
Sorry, I was just driving my speed tank.
Target shields.
So I got my way of my speed tank.
Nice tank.
Surprised I haven't remade that.
I am surprised they have not remade it either, because they remake everything.
Wait, you didn't get it right the first time? I'm gonna watch it. What makes you think that you're gonna get it right the second?
I actually enjoyed that movie. Of course I was watching it when I was in my 20s.
I remember it. I didn't know it like.
Yeah, I liked it.
Remember the sound?
Yeah, I love the soundtrack. I did love the soundtrack. Like a lot of Bjork's music, but it did have that one song on there that I loved.
Did you say Bjork?
Bjork, however you say it.
Bjork.
Shit, B-J-O-R-K.
Target shields.
Bjork.
B-J-O-R-K.
Target shields.
Like the Swedish fucking chef over there.
Yeah, I didn't name her that.
Yeah, she's psychotic.
That is. She's not a good person.
No, you beat the shit out of that reporter at the airport?
Hmm.
I know you did.
Yeah. Just for no reason, too.
Yeah. Have a nice time. Have a nice day. What? Beat the shit out of her.
Scan detected.
We had to pull her off over it, didn't
Integrity compromised. Shields offline.
they? Don't greet Bjork when she gets out of the airport there. Just stay the hell out of her way. With her kid there, too, on top of it.
She was fucking nuts anyway. She had like 2 different kids from 2 different members of the Sugar Cubes that she was in.
That's right. She did. She was banging everybody.
She was banging everybody.
She
She
was.
was getting around, Maury.
She
Know
was.
that baby ain't mine.
She was. Were they even that far apart, the kids?
Not really, no.
Right?
They were 20 minutes apart.
Goddamn right she was.
They
I'm still off in the ups and the downs.
Come here, I've been slept with you. If you don't sleep with her, she beats the shit out of you.
Hey man, she's wild.
I know. You don't perform right, she beats the shit out of you for that too.
She beat the shit out of you while you're performing right.
That's right. I mean,
It
she may
don't
beat
matter.
you while you're, yeah, that's right. She
Like,
don't
you
care.
know, what was it? Alexis K. Taylor on Vagina Power used to say it. She was like, dick will make you smack somebody.
Oh, hell.
Successful.
She was like, you know, sometimes you just get into it and it's real good and you just can't help yourself. It's like a nerve reaction just happens. It's BAM!
Smack. That's right. I said harder. Smack.
But, you know,
Yeah, she was nutty. There still is.
She probably, I think she still is.
Yeah, you see her videos, man, they're trippy as hell.
I haven't seen any recent ones.
Oh my god, like these
Yeah, right.
flowers and I don't know. She's like some type of, you know, single cell organism or some crap. I don't know what the hell. They're trippy though. I think that's why I liked her, 'cause she was trippy.
Target shields offline.
Some of the music is really big. Some of it's kind of like...
I know. Like the stuff about boats and harbors and crap.
Man, I like them songs about boats and hoes.
Boats and hoes, no shit. Yeah, she had some, yeah. Some of her stuff I do like.
Yeah, fewer. She did a couple ones that were decent. Heard one that
High production.
a few dubstep reinterpretations of her music that were pretty good.
Big time
Right, man.
sexuality. That's the one. Big time
Big time
sexuality.
sexuality. Look out, it's bobbing.
I love that song.
Telling you, man.
Such a Euro dance pop song.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I loved it.
We got a super chat here from Cool Skull for $2. Thank you, Cool Skull. Much appreciated. Cool Skull, thank you. Cool Skull says, "Hey Pete, play a song you made."
Oh, here you go.
Do that.
Good idea. Really good idea.
Cock smashing in the UK.
This is a song called Cock Smash. Let's see.
All my favorite friends are like some of the most damaged and screwed up individuals on the planet.
They make life interesting.
Gosh, God.
Right?
Tell you this, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I've been on the other side of that fence and it's like, Jesus, fuck, man, it's like being in The Walking Dead. Now I know what it feels like to be part of the herd.
I know
Nope.
Mecca doesn't.
Nope.
That's why I like Mecca. Mecca is just your own person.
Fuck all of y'all, I'm just gonna dare all this shit, get on my bike and ride off into the sunset.
Get on my bike, ride off in the sunset, check out my dick. Look how it flops now.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, rattling balls on the side of the fucking tank.
Jesus.
Check out the rock hard dongle.
Dongle.
Target cargo dropped.
I know, right about now, Joseph is thinking of a cool super chat to give you. It's gonna talk all.
Alright, this song's called, wait a minute. I didn't share the audio, did
Under attack.
StreamYards. Don't make no sense. You
I?
gotta share the screen.
Shields online.
What's it called?
So it's called A Decade.
A decade?
Okay.
Time changer.
That was Decade in Denial. Decade in Denial.
Decade into
Scan detected. Target shields offline.
Good shit, man.
Hey.
Like, that's some stuff you just put on and work in that bag.
Way better than Bjork anyway.
Jordan.
Bjork. She's like, you know what, I'm rich, I'm crazy, I'm a violent, fucking crazy ass person.
She's little too.
And I can admit that, because I'm cute. Remember that, if you're cute and people want to bang you, you can get away with murder.
It's true. There we go. Here's Joseph.
Target destroyed.
Just voting for Don and I do everything that doesn't suck. Thank you.
Joseph.
Yeah, everything that doesn't suck.
You're so mean, Joseph.
No, that's punk as fuck to say at the end of it, too.
It is. And a good smooth time changer at the end, I must say.
Yeah, that was back when I was with a band called Anger Addiction.
That was anger and addiction.
Little song I wrote about 10 years of drinking. Living in bars. That's not what
It was long for me when you bartended.
I was
You know?
I was in pain.
Time in bars. A lot of time in bars.
Scan detected.
I was just drinking at home.
Yeah, I never liked drinking at home. I don't like drinking alone.
Target shields offline.
Maybe that's it.
I never had a problem with
Yeah, I am definitely a social drinker. You know, I don't drink hardly at all, and then when I go out, I'm on a Jaeger.
Joseph Alder for $1.99. It sounds like Rancid if they had to dysentery.
Ooh. It's a good dysentery.
Jay Carr says Pete had a good run until he met his wife at the bar. No, well, I mean, yes, we met up again at a bar.
He
But
didn't meet her at a bar, though.
we met up again.
Yeah, he didn't meet her at a bar, you guys.
Had I not been at the bar that day, I would not run into her. I didn't even know she was back in the state.
Amy's no lounge lizard.
So the bar basically introduced you. It gave you an outlet for your pain and suffering, and then it gave you your redemption.
You know, and dump that bitch you meet, and that's what happened, right?
Hail to the bar!
Scan detected.
It's a blessing in disguise.
Target cargo.
And the bar has been the beginning and end of many wonderful fucked up stories as well. A lot of really funny stories on it. A lot more funny stories.
Speaking of funny stories, it's funny time of the night where we gotta wrap it all up.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we'll by fast.
That goes by fast, it really does. I do appreciate you all being here tonight. I want to thank you so much for tuning in with us night after night, day after day, as we delve into the world of the weird. I want to thank Deranged Lunatic, Dash Fat Bastard, Joseph Aldred, and Cool Skull for your generous super chats. They're much appreciated. Never expected, but always appreciated. Thank you very much. Let's say thank you to my panel for being here tonight. Thanks so much, guys. And as we do, this has been a Creepy Little Bit Live. You've been listening to High Strangeness, the #1 late night paranormal podcast on music. Joseph Aldred, see sneaking in the Madonna 99. Pete writes theme music. Used to be a king of the theme. Used to be a king of the scene. Before it was a fucking scene. I was the king of the scene.
That's right.
That's right. I've been your host, Pete. With me tonight were Team Tomazuski, Adorable and Horrible, Mecha Rain Queens, and Cincinnati.
Cargo scoop retracted. Scan detected. Target destroyed. Scan detected. Scan detected. Cargo scoop retracted. Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Flight engaged. Landing gear deployed.